Husband catches wife cheating after years of betrayal, confronts her, and delivers his final revenge. "I'm really sorry, Mr. Walker. I hate delivering bad news," John Michael said, handing me an envelope with a report on my wife's dealings with her ex-boss, Grant Jacobs, along with photos and a DVD. Though I glanced at the photos, I hadn't yet watched the DVD. Part of me resisted, but I knew I had to confront it. "Do you know how long this has been happening?" I asked. John checked his notes before answering. "Based on what we found, it's been ongoing for at least 10, maybe 12 years. It started around when your wife was up for a promotion," John said. "Aligning with the birth of our daughter Sophie, I decided to get DNA tests. Another worry struck me, STDs. The report showed Grant had affairs with other married women. Although we'd been carnal since her retirement, what risks had I faced unknowingly? I needed testing." Scanning the report again, I grimaced at Aaron's note that Linda seemed unaware of Grant's affairs. "If it helps, Grant claimed he never meant to break up your marriage. He just wanted physical, engaging," John said, "and they never did anything at your home. I'd let JN install cameras, hoping our marital space hadn't been violated." "No, that's not comforting, Mr. Michaels," I said. "Grant Jacobs was no favorite of mine. Now I understood why." "There's more, Mr. Walker," John continued. "Jacobs' sister Natalie knew about the affair and might have helped." This saddened me. I'd always thought Natalie was decent. "Damn," I muttered. "Have you talked to a lawyer?" JN asked. "Not yet. I wanted to know the truth first," I admitted. "Well, Lisa Hawkins is my go-to for these situations. She's top-notch and hates cheaters. I can send this over to her and let her know you'll be contacting her," John offered. "That would be helpful, thanks." "I'll call her office for an appointment," I said, taking his business card. "Can I offer a suggestion?" John asked. "Of course," I replied. "Let Lisa handle this. I know it's tough, but don't risk getting into trouble over it. This is real life, not some online drama." "You have kids to think about," he advised. "I get it. Thank you." After paying, I left his office feeling like my whole marriage was a sham. It hurt, but John was right. I sat in my car and cried for 15 minutes. After pulling myself together, I scheduled an appointment with Lisa Hawkins for the next day. She needed financial documents. On the way home, I bought cigarettes, a habit I hadn't indulged in since college. Then I went to a bar for a beer, trying to cope. "You okay?" the bartender asked as I smoked. "Is it that obvious?" I asked. "Unfortunately, yeah," he said with a smile. "Let me guess, you found out your wife's been cheating?" "Yeah, for 12 years, I confessed. "I've seen worse," he nodded. "My grandpa used to say, I felt sorry for myself because I had no shoes, then I met a fellow who had no feet. It gets better. Take care of business, drinking won't help," he advised. "He sounds wise," I said. "He was," the bartender agreed. "Finish your beer, then head home. You won't find answers at the bottom of that glass." I nodded, knowing he was right. Sipping my beer, I pondered the unimaginable, Linda cheating on me. Over time, subtle signs emerged that individually seemed innocuous, but collectively painted a troubling picture. For example, after our second child, Sophie, was born, I underwent a vasectomy, yet Linda resumed birth control. When questioned, she explained it as caution and cycle regulation, which I accepted despite my lack of expertise. Then, as she started traveling with Grant for her new job, her wardrobe choices seemed unsuitable for business, with her suggesting that entertaining was a significant aspect of her role, which, now I understood, included entertaining Grant. I used to call her in the evenings when she was away. I noticed she was always in her room, and sometimes I thought I heard a man's voice nearby. Occasionally, Linda's voice cracked as she spoke. I couldn't explain it then, but I reasoned Grant might be with her. There were times I caught a faint whiff of Grant's aftershave on Linda's clothes, making me nauseous. It seemed she had been in close contact with him. Then, there were the Friday afternoons she claimed to work after her retirement. She explained it as needing her skills for one afternoon a week, strictly business. Now I realize her special skills involved more than business. Her one afternoon a week turned into 2 or 3, and her occasional trips increased, often lasting the entire weekend. This unfolded over the last 4 months. Surprisingly, Linda's attitude toward me stayed the same, remaining affectionate and caring since our wedding. She appeared happy at home with the kids, even though I took on more caregiving duties due to her busy schedule. Feeling burdened, I hired John's firm to investigate, confirming my suspicions. Now the only question is how to split everything. If it were a drunken mistake, maybe I could forgive, but this betrayal over a decade was deliberate. Time for consequences. I finished my drink, nodded to the bartender, and left. Coming home, I saw her car in the garage, which was unexpected. After closing the garage, I found Linda in the house, noticing the smell of cigarettes and beer on me. "You've been smoking," she noted, her concern evident. "And I smell beer. Is everything okay?" "No, today's been terrible," I admitted. "What happened?" she asked, genuinely worried, though I couldn't help but question if it was genuine. "Something," I replied. "I'll be in my office for the night. I won't be much company." "Can I help?" she offered. "Yeah," I thought. "Undo what you've done." "I'm afraid not," I said. "By the way, I'll be away this weekend starting Friday," she mentioned. It was only Tuesday and she's planning another trip already? Again? What, another one? "Didn't you just go on a getaway?" I questioned. "Yes, but something came up," she explained. "Business, you know." "Sure," I replied sarcastically. "What about Sophie's birthday party?" "I am aware," she acknowledged, "but I can't avoid it. Could you explain to her why I won't be there, please?" "No," I refused. "You missed Erin's birthday and our anniversary last year. You can explain to our daughter why you'd rather be with Grant than celebrate her birthday here." "John, please." "You're being unreasonable," she said. "No, Linda," I stated firmly. "You supposedly retired months ago after your company was sold, but you've been gone so much I can't help but wonder what's really going on. Is there something you'd like to tell me?" "What are you saying? Are you accusing me of having an affair?" she asked defensively. "What would you think if the situation were reversed?" I questioned. She backed off a bit after that. "I see your point," she conceded. "But believe me, it's just business." "So you've said," I replied. "Now, if you'll excuse me, I have things to do." "Please don't interrupt me. You'll have to look after the kids tonight." I retreated into my home office, closing and locking the door. I heard Linda attempt to open it. "John," she called out. "Please, John, talk to me." "Leave me alone, Linda," I said through gritted teeth. "I'm busy." I heard her shuffle away as I gathered the information Lisa said she would need. Then, I turned to the evidence Jan provided. Reading the report, it was difficult to comprehend that this was the woman I had loved and supported for the last 12 years. I donned my headphones and started the DVD. Unless you've been in my shoes, you can't comprehend the range of emotions that flood you when witnessing the woman you adored giving herself to another man willingly. I didn't care how John obtained these videos. All I knew was that any love I once held for Linda had vanished. As I watched her with Grant, I vowed never to touch her again. I forced myself to listen to their carnal conversations. "Hey, are we still on for this weekend?" Grant asked, holding her close. "Definitely," Linda grinned. "Can't go too long without you." "What about Sophie's party?" he asked. "John will handle it," she assured. "He's better with the kids." "I worry he'll catch on," Grant said. "You're supposed to be retired." "I've told you I'm not giving us up," she affirmed. "Family's important, but so are we." "I hope you're right," Grant said. "What if he finds out?" "I'll deal with it," she said confidently. "It won't be easy," he warned. "I'll manage," she said. "He hasn't caught on in 12 years. "How long will this last?" Grant asked. "As long as possible," she declared. Shutting off the video, I tucked the DVD away and approached the office door. "What?" I said. "The kids are going to bed. Can you at least say goodnight?" she asked. "Yeah, hold on," I said, shutting down my computer and going upstairs. Despite my turmoil, I smiled as I tucked them in. Sophie seemed worried. "Are you okay, Daddy?" she asked. "Yeah, I'm fine. Go to sleep, sweetheart. I love you," I said. "I love you too," she said, kissing my cheek. After leaving her room, I went downstairs for coffee. "I kept dinner warm," Linda said. "I'm not hungry," I said, going to the patio and lighting a cigarette. Linda joined me, trying to kiss me. I turned my head, letting her kiss my cheek. "What's wrong?" she asked, concerned. "You haven't smoked since college." "We don't always get what we want," I said. "What do you mean?" she asked. I shook my head. "It's too late," I said. "Too late for what?" she pressed. "You're savvy," I said. "Or figure it out. Please leave me alone." "Maybe I can help," she offered. "Sorry for being abrupt," I said, softening. "Work's getting to me, maybe in a couple of days." I didn't like lying, but why not to a liar? "Okay," she said softly, tears forming. She went inside. I smoked 2 more cigarettes before joining her. After a shower to rid myself of the smoke, I wore pajamas rarely used and got into bed. Linda reached out, but I pushed her away, a first in our marriage. "John," she started. I turned away, refusing her kiss goodnight. "Linda," I muttered. She cried softly, but I didn't care. The next day, I readied for work and spent time with the kids before leaving without acknowledging Linda. She looked at me strangely. "Don't I get a kiss anymore?" she asked. "Sorry," I said, blowing her a kiss. "I love you," she said. "Yeah, me too," I replied, leaving. At the office, work was tough. I confided in my boss, who advised taking time off if needed. Later, I met Lisa. "Good afternoon, Mr. Walker," she greeted. We discussed my situation. "I want as much as I can get," I said, "especially custody." "Mothers usually get custody," she cautioned. "I've been their caregiver for a decade," I countered, and she admitted I'm a better parent. "That's helpful. We can use that," Lisa said, reviewing the financial data. "Your wife received a significant sum from the company's sale. The dividends she gets rival your salary, which works in our favor." "So, does that mean no alimony?" I asked. "Or very little," Lisa confirmed. "She's still young, so she can work. If we secure custody for you, we might get child support from her." "What about the house?" I questioned. "If you get custody, you can stay in the house, and she might pay half the mortgage. But if she gets custody, you might pay half the mortgage plus child support," she explained. "Or we could sell the house and split the proceeds." "And our retirement and bank accounts?" I pressed. "We'll leave retirement accounts alone. You keep your 401ks. The rest will be divided evenly," she assured. "What about Grant Jacobs? Can I sue him?" I asked. "Not in this state, but we'll mention him in the proceedings." "You could sue for emotional distress, but it might not go far," she said. "And his sister, Natalie?" "She knew about it," I added. "We can file if you want," Lisa confirmed. "When can we file all of this?" I asked. "We can have it done by Friday," she said. "Any rush?" "I want her served late Saturday afternoon. She'll be away for the weekend with Grant," I revealed. "Ah, shock and awe. We can arrange that, but there's an extra cost for a Saturday process server," she noted. "That's fine, go ahead," I instructed. "All right, John," she said, concluding with a handshake. She reminded me not to act rashly before taking my retainer check. Leaving her office, I felt in control again. At home, I found Linda's car in the garage, surprising as she was at the office on a Wednesday. Her warm car and the aroma of pot roast greeted me inside. "Hi there," Linda greeted from the kitchen. "You're home early, everything all right?" "Yeah," I replied. "I hope today is better than yesterday," she said. "A bit. I'm managing," I said. "That's good. Dinner?" she asked. "I made pot roast." "I'll have some," I agreed. "It smells great." "Did you go to the office?" I asked. "Yeah, for a couple of hours," she said, "preparing for the weekend." "Did you talk to Sophie?" I asked. "Yes, she's not thrilled, but she'll come around," Linda assured. "Where are the kids?" I questioned. "In their rooms doing homework," she replied. "You're still going on this trip with Grant?" I probed. "Yes, purely business," she insisted. "Just business." "When do you plan to retire?" I asked. "I'm retired." "They just need my expertise," she said. "Can't say how long they'll need me." "Seems like you might as well go back full-time." "You're practically doing it now," I remarked. "What do you mean?" she asked, puzzled. "With all the hours you're putting in, it's almost like you're on their payroll," I noted. "Why do you say that?" she inquired. "I'm actually making more now with my retirement." After changing into more relaxed attire, I complimented her cooking skills on the pot roast. She had always been exceptional, and I'd missed that. Spending time with the kids, I retreated into my office and locked the door. Linda knocked, realizing it was locked. "Planning to stay in here tonight?" she asked. "I think so. I still have a lot to do, and I'm feeling under the weather," I replied. "I'll crash on the futon to avoid getting you sick before your trip." "All right, take care, John. I love you," she said. "Yeah, me too," I murmured, closing the door. Turning to my computer, I found what I needed, completed a form, and set a reminder to call the next day for confirmation. Thursday unfolded much like Wednesday, with Linda attempting to seduce me into bed wearing a sheer nightgown. However, knowing about her affair stripped away any allure her body held for me. "I'm sorry, Linda, but I feel a terrible migraine coming on," I murmured softly. "I'll rest here in the office tonight." A tear traced down her cheek as she turned away, but I remained indifferent. She called me at noon the next day to inform me of her departure. "I hope you're feeling better, John," she said. "Maybe we can reconnect when I return on Monday." "Thanks for letting me know," I replied. "I love you, John," she insisted. "Sure," I responded. "Have a safe trip. Goodbye, Linda." Ending the call, I dialed Lisa's number. "I'm filing the paperwork now, John," she informed me. "It'll be served at 5:30 tomorrow at Grant's house, just as you requested. Natalie will be served on Monday." "Thank you, Lisa," I said, concluding the call. I locked up my office and returned home, preparing for the movers' arrival. I handed them a bag containing Linda's wedding dress, alterations, and a note, my wedding ring, and our torn marriage certificate, requesting it be delivered to Linda at Grant's house the next day at 5:30 p.m., along with $250 bills as tips. "I'll handle this personally, Mr. Walker," the young man assured, taking the bag. "Thank you," I said. Reheating pot roast leftovers, I dined in the living room while watching TV. That night, I slept soundly in the master bed. At noon the next day, Linda's parents arrived with the children. I'd been up, preparing for Sophie's birthday party in the backyard, which started around 3:00 p.m. Linda had ordered a cake, which I picked up earlier that morning and stored in the fridge. "You've been busy," remarked Rhonda, Linda's mother, as she entered. "I didn't have much choice," I replied. "I just hope everything goes smoothly." "The kids will enjoy themselves," she reassured. "Did Sophie tell you Linda won't be here?" I asked. "Yes, she did," Rhonda confirmed. "I can't believe Linda would miss her daughter's birthday." She gave me a curious look. "Is everything all right between you two?" I ushered the kids upstairs to prepare for the party before addressing Rhonda and her husband George. "No, it's not," I admitted. "I hate to break it to you, but I'm divorcing Linda." "What?" exclaimed George. "Why?" "She's been having an affair with her boss for 12 years, I revealed. "That's where she is now." "Oh my God," gasped Rhonda. "Are you sure?" "I am. I hired an investigator," I explained, offering to show them the report, which Rhonda declined. "I'd like to see that report," George interjected. "While you're doing that, I'll finish preparing for Sophie's party," Rhonda decided. I thanked Rhonda and led George to my home office, handing him the report. He shook his head in disbelief after reading about Linda's involvement with Grant. "That idiot," he muttered, handing back the report. "Sorry, John. It's hard to accept." "I understand," I sympathized. "What about Grant?" George asked. "I've sued him and his sister for emotional distress," I explained. He scoffed. "Just a lawsuit?" He scoffed. "After what he did?" "I get it, George," I acknowledged, "but I can't risk jail time with 2 kids." "True," he conceded, "but Grant needs to be dealt with." "I can't let you get in trouble," I insisted. "Don't worry, I won't land in jail," he assured. George was tough, and his plan was his own. "What's the plan?" I asked. "Better you don't know," he said with a grin. "Okay," I agreed. He clapped my shoulder. "Let's enjoy time with the kids," he suggested. Outside, Rhonda had set up for the party. Sophie was amazed by the decorations. "Thank you, Daddy," she said, embracing me. "This is so wonderful. I wish Mom were here to see this." "I do too," I replied. "We can take pictures for her to see later, okay?" "Okay," she agreed. I fired up the grill and started cooking hamburgers and hot dogs for everyone. Around 4:30 p.m., the doorbell rang, signaling the beginning. Over the next half hour, more than a dozen parents arrived with their children. All of them were Sophie's school friends, and they were all enjoying themselves in the backyard. Among the last to arrive were Natalie and her husband Ralph, with their daughter Denise. I welcomed them inside and directed Denise to join the party in the backyard. I offered Natalie and Ralph something to drink, and they graciously accepted. "I'm surprised to see you here, Natalie. I thought you and Ralph had an important business trip this weekend," I remarked. "That's Grant and Linda's responsibility," she clarified. "I'm just there to support them in the office." "I see," I responded. "John, is everything okay?" Natalie inquired. "Between you and Linda, I mean." "Why do you ask?" I countered. "You're not wearing your wedding ring," she pointed out. I glanced at my finger and noticed the indentation where my ring used to be. "I returned it to her," I explained. "Maybe Grant will have better luck keeping her faithful than I did." "What do you mean by that?" Natalie pressed. "Let's not play games, Natalie," I retorted. "I know your brother's been involved with Linda for the past 12 years. I'll admit, you both did a good job of deceiving me all this time." "John, please, Linda still loves you," Natalie pleaded. "Yes, so much that she lied and betrayed me for over a decade. I can't even begin to describe how loved I feel right now," I said sarcastically. "So what's your plan?" Natalie asked. "What do you think? I'm divorcing her. She and Grant will be served soon," I stated, checking my watch. "Served?" Natalie questioned. "Yes. Linda will receive divorce papers and I'm suing Grant. You'll be served on Monday," I informed her. "Me? Why are you suing me? I haven't done anything," Natalie protested. "Exactly," I said. "For over a decade you knew about their affair. My investigator even suggested you might have facilitated it, and all the while you pretended to be my friend. You could have said or done something, but you didn't. How many times have you sat in my house, enjoyed my hospitality, knowing what Linda was doing with your brother? Did you find it amusing to make me a fool? Now my marriage and my family are shattered, and you're partly responsible for that. Thanks to the 3 of you, I'll never be able to love or trust another woman again, and my children have lost their mother. I hope you're satisfied." "John, I'm truly sorry," she said. Sorry? Sorry isn't enough, Natalie," I asserted. "For 12 years, the 3 of you conspired to ruin my family. You didn't care about the impact on me or my children, and now you've succeeded." "It wasn't like that," Natalie insisted. "Really? Was it all just business between the 3 of you?" I scoffed. "At first, yes. she admitted. It was Grant's idea initially. Linda went along with it because she wanted the job, but she wasn't happy about it. Over time, things changed. And what about after you sold your company and supposedly retired? I questioned. That was Linda's decision, Natalie clarified. I thought it would end, but Linda chose to continue the affair. Then she made a terrible choice, I remarked, but you still played a part. I'm truly sorry, John, she said. None of us wanted to hurt you. But you did, I concluded, in the worst possible way. It's best if you gather your family and leave my house, Natalie. She nodded silently. I understand, John, she whispered before departing to fetch Denise and Ralph. And Natalie, I called after her. She turned to face me. Don't ever come back. She wiped away a tear and left with Denise and Ralph. Linda and Grant were lying undressed in his bed when her phone buzzed, signaling a new message. Assuming it was John sending pictures from Sophie's party. She reached for her phone on the nightstand and read the text from Natalie. He knows everything. Oh no, she exclaimed. What's wrong? Grant inquired. That was Natalie, she said. John knows everything, Linda disclosed. I should get cleaned up and go home. Are you sure that's wise? Grant questioned. Yes, Linda affirmed. She hastily put on a bathrobe and got out of bed. Just then they heard the doorbell. Who could that be? Grant wondered aloud. He hastily dressed and went downstairs with Linda following close behind. Opening the door, he found a man standing there. How can I help you? Grant asked. Are you Grant Jacobs? The man queried. Yes, Grant replied. And is Linda Walker also present? The man continued. That's me, Linda interjected, stepping forward. I'll need to see some identification, the man requested. Why? Grant queried as he retrieved his wallet. The man silently examined Grant's license before, handing him an envelope. You've been served, the man declared. Miss Walker, I'll need to see identification as well. Sure, Linda complied, retrieving her wallet. After inspecting her license, the man handed her an envelope. You've been served, he stated. Additionally, there's a restraining order included with these documents. You are both prohibited from approaching Mr. John Walker, his residence, his workplace, and his children, including their school, within a 500-foot radius. Failure to comply could result in arrest. Good day. With that, the man left, leaving Linda and Grant stunned. Excuse me, is Linda Walker here? Another man, dressed casually, inquired. Yes, that's me, Linda confirmed. The man handed her a paper bag with an envelope attached, and she accepted it, puzzled. I was instructed to deliver this to you personally, ma'am. I also have several other boxes, the man explained. Where should I put them? Grant and Linda exchanged glances before Grant responded. Just leave them in the front room for now, he instructed. Thank you, sir, the man acknowledged before heading back to the truck. As they watched, several boxes were brought in and stacked in the front room, as directed by Grant. While this was happening, Linda opened the envelope. Inside was a man's wedding ring, a note, and her marriage license torn into 4 pieces. Tears streamed down her face as she read the note. Linda, throughout our marriage, I have only loved and supported you. Imagine my shock upon discovering your affair with Grant Jacobs over the past 12 years. This is how you repay my love, with deceit and infidelity? All this time you claimed it was just business, but I now know it was much more than that. I hope it was worth it. I urge you to seek legal counsel promptly. Our finances have been divided per the divorce papers, and I have changed the locks on our doors. As I have been the primary caregiver for our children since your involvement with Grant began, I am seeking full custody. However, I am open to visitation arrangements. Please have your attorney contact mine to coordinate. Furthermore, as Grant has offered you shelter, I have sent your belongings to his residence. If there are any items you wish to retrieve from our home, please have your attorney contact mine to arrange it. I have no desire for further contact with you. Please refrain from reaching out to our children or me, or I will enforce the restraining order. I implore you not to contest the divorce terms. I do not wish to escalate matters for the sake of our children, but I will if necessary. I possess photographic evidence, videos, and a comprehensive investigator's report documenting your recent activities. I have not yet disclosed the reason for our divorce to the children, but I will when the time is appropriate. Your parents are aware of the situation, though they have not seen the evidence. Please do what is right. For once, and bring an end to this charade of a marriage. As of now, Linda, you are dead to me. Goodbye, John, overcome with emotion. Linda opened the paper bag and found the ashes of her wedding gown, the very gown she wore when she married John. She collapsed to the floor, sobbing uncontrollably. Grant wrapped his arms around her and read the letter. He's such an idiot, he muttered. I'll give him a piece of my mind. No, Grant, please don't. I don't want you to end up in jail. This is my mess to clean up, she replied. What did you find out? He asked. He's suing me for causing him emotional distress, Grant revealed. He's demanding $5 million. I'll contact my lawyer and see what options we have. I wonder if he's going after Natalie too, Linda pondered. Let's check, Grant suggested, reaching for his phone. If he is, we should meet to discuss this and try to minimize the damage. After the birthday party wrapped up, I expressed gratitude to everyone for attending and for the thoughtful gifts. As I surveyed the cluttered house, I knew I had my work cut out for me. Sophie approached me with tears in her eyes. What's wrong, honey? I asked, embracing her. I wish Mom could have been here, she sniffled. I missed her. Yeah, me too, I acknowledged. Unfortunately, your mother had other plans. Sophie looked at me with a mix of sadness and curiosity. Are you divorcing her? She inquired tearfully. I didn't want to spoil her day, but I knew I couldn't evade the conversation forever. We'll discuss that later, okay? It's because of that Grant guy, right? Aaron chimed in. What makes you say that? I questioned. I've overheard Mom talking to him on the phone a few times, he explained. It was intriguing, but I decided not to probe further, at least for now. We'll talk more tomorrow, I asserted. Today is Sophie's birthday. Right now I need your help cleaning up, all right? Okay, Dad, Aaron complied. I hugged Sophie once more and kissed her on the cheek. Everything will be okay, I assured her, wiping away her tears. Well, I love you. I love you too, Daddy, she reciprocated. Rhonda and George stayed behind to assist with the cleanup. Are you going to be all right, John? Rhonda inquired before they departed. I'll manage, I replied. Thanks for pitching in. Of course, she responded. If you need anything at all, don't hesitate to ask. I appreciate it, I expressed. Rhonda embraced me and George shook my hand. Take care, son, he bid me farewell. After they drove off, exhausted, I retreated upstairs and fell asleep almost instantly. The following day, I rose early and completed my usual Sunday tasks. After preparing breakfast for us while I mowed the lawn, Aaron handled the edging. Once we finished, we tidied up and put away the equipment. After lunch, I was surprised to find Sophie making sandwiches for us. We dined together. At the table, before clearing our plates, Sophie regarded me seriously as we finished. All right, Dad, she began. You need to tell us what's going on. I dreaded this conversation, but it was inevitable. I gathered the kids in the living room, and we all took a seat. There's no easy way to say this, so I'll just be straightforward, I began. I'm divorcing your mother. The news was met with silence from the kids, no outbursts as I had anticipated. They seemed to take it in stride. She's been cheating on you with that Grant guy, hasn't she? Aaron ventured. Yeah, I admitted quietly, nodding. I figured as much, Aaron remarked. I bet it's been happening for a while, huh? What makes you think that? I asked. Just the way she talks to him, he explained. I've heard her on the phone. She talks to him the same way she talks to you, Dad. It was a revelation. Why hadn't I noticed that myself? The answer was clear. Until recently, I trusted her implicitly and respected her privacy. I saw no reason to eavesdrop on her conversations with Grant or anyone else. So, how long has it been going on, Dad? Sophie inquired. As far as I can figure, it's been about 12 years, sweetheart, I replied. She reacted with a gasp. So that means she started not long after I was born, she remarked. Pretty much, I confirmed. Damn her, Sophie muttered. Sorry, Dad, she quickly added, sensing my reaction. Understanding her frustration, I let it slide this time. Can I stay with you, she asked. Absolutely, if that's what you want, I assured her. Me too, Dad, Aaron chimed in. You've always been there for us. Thank you, guys, that means the world to me, I expressed. Actually, I've requested custody of you both, I revealed. I opened my arms, and they both enveloped me in a hug. We shared a heartfelt embrace, and I felt overwhelmed with joy that my children wanted to remain with me. After our tearful moment, we continued with the rest of the day, although there was an underlying sadness in the air. The following days passed without incident. George and Rhonda agreed to pick up the kids after school and stayed with us until I returned from work. I felt bad about inconveniencing them, but they were understanding and gladly lent a hand. Rhonda even prepared our dinner, which was a tremendous help. On Tuesday, I received a call from my attorney, Lisa. Linda had consulted with her own lawyer and expressed a desire to visit the children. I was apprehensive about having her at the house and feared she might do something rash, like taking off with them. What about the restraining order? I inquired. If you agree, we could temporarily suspend it for a designated period, say, from 9 a.m. Friday to 9 a.m. Sunday, Lisa proposed. I know it's difficult, but appearing reasonable is crucial. I understand. What if she visits the kids at her parents' house on Saturday? I suggested. I can drop them off there on Friday after school and pick them up either Saturday night or Sunday. I'll propose that and see how her lawyer responds, Lisa agreed. Under no circumstances should Grant or Natalie be present, I emphasized, and there's a chance the kids might not want to see her. They're not exactly thrilled with her right now. I'll convey that, Lisa assured me. Anything else? I inquired. Yes, her lawyer wants access to the full PI report, Lisa informed me. I've compiled a copy and sent it over. She should receive it by Thursday at the latest. So she's retained legal counsel? I confirmed. Yes, she hired Beth Sawyer on Monday, Lisa confirmed. It's surprising since Beth detests cheaters almost as much as I do. I suspect it's because she works in the same firm as Grant's attorney. Regardless, I'll discuss it with Beth and keep you updated. The next day, Lisa informed me that Linda and her lawyer had agreed to my terms, provided I suspended the restraining order for 36 hours, from midnight Saturday to noon Sunday. And it only applied to Linda, not Grant or Natalie. They also agreed that Linda would visit with the children at her parents' house and refrain from taking them anywhere. If the kids were comfortable with the arrangement, Linda would spend the night there with them. Reluctantly, I accepted these terms, not wanting to appear unreasonable to the court. Initially, the children were hesitant, but I managed to convince them to give it a chance. George and Rhonda agreed to pick them up after school on Friday and return them to the house on Sunday afternoon after their visit. I had reservations, but I trusted George and Rhonda. George even suggested taking me to a bar to catch some sports over a beer on Saturday night. On Friday morning, I ensured the children had all they needed for the weekend. After hugging and kissing them, I drove them to school, reminding them to contact me if Grant, Natalie, or their mother tried to approach them. Only after confirming they were safely inside the building did I head to work. The following evening, around 5:30, George picked me up, and we headed to the Flat Stick Pub, a wrestling-themed sports bar downtown. Over burgers and beers, we caught up while watching the action on the numerous screens. Linda showed up around 9 this morning, George informed me. It was tense initially, but things eased up a bit. The kids aren't thrilled with her and made it clear. Surprisingly, she came clean. That's unexpected, I remarked. She claims she still loves you. Seems like she might aim for reconciliation, George said. Is that something you'd consider? I'm afraid not, George, I replied. After 12 years of deception, it's hard to see past that. I understand. Did you really burn her wedding dress? That gown set me back over $2,000 when you two got married, George recalled. It felt appropriate at the time. I admitted. She mentioned her lawyer thoroughly reviewed the PI report and gave her a stern talking to, George added. I think she's starting to grasp your perspective. Too little, too late, I stated. George nodded, taking a sip of his beer. Suddenly, we heard a commotion behind me. Before I could react, something struck my head, and I saw stars as I fell. I managed to dodge a subsequent blow aimed at me. I'm going to eliminate you, you idiot, Grant's voice rang out. Seeing him looming over me, I instinctively retaliated. Recalling self-defense lessons from my father, I landed a fierce kick to Grant's groin as he advanced, causing him to collapse. Seizing the opportunity, I delivered several blows to his face in rapid succession. It wasn't a calculated attack with finesse. It was raw fury and a desire to retaliate against the man who shattered my marriage and family happiness. Unaware that Grant was already unconscious, I relentlessly struck him until 2 pairs of hands pulled me away. As I came to, I found myself in a hospital bed, being examined by a doctor. My right hand was bandaged, and my left hand and forearm were in a cast. A throbbing headache plagued me. He'll be all right, the doctor assured George. While he'll have a headache for some time, there's no sign of a concussion. We'll administer pain relief and let him rest before discharge. Thank you, doctor, George responded. Turning to me, he relayed the doctor's assessment. You'll pull through, although you're hurting. Grant came out worse. He's losing a testicle, lost teeth, and nearly lost an eye. You apparently landed a solid punch on his jaw. Was that him? I croaked. How long have I been here? Since last night. It's now on Sunday morning, George informed me. Oh, and there are a couple of officers outside who want to speak with you. Ready for that? I might as well get it over with, I replied. George signaled the officers who entered the room. I'm Sergeant Smith, and this is Officer Jones. We responded to your altercation at the Flat Stick Pub last night. Smith introduced himself. How are you feeling this morning, sir? I feel like I've been punched upside the head, I expressed to him. Smith smiled and checked his notes. What happened last night? He inquired. I don't have much to share, I replied. I was having a burger and beer with my father-in-law here, then suddenly I got struck in the head. The guy threatened my life, so I defended myself. Smith nodded. That aligns with what the witnesses reported, he confirmed, referring to his notes. The surveillance footage supports your account. Do you know the assailant? Yes, Sergeant. His name is Grant Jacobs. I have a lawsuit against him, and he's part of my divorce proceedings, I disclosed. Divorce? The sergeant echoed. Yes, I affirmed. Got it. He jotted it down in his notebook. I assume you want to press. Charges? Yes, absolutely, I asserted. There's also a restraining order against him. Understood, he acknowledged. We'll look into that. We'll handle it from here, Mr. Walker. You may be approached for further questioning, so please refrain from leaving town for a while. No problem, Sergeant, I assured him, raising my hands. He smiled and left the room with his colleague. After they departed, Rhonda, Linda, and the kids entered. Why is she here? I questioned, glancing at Linda. My restraining order doesn't take effect until noon, Linda explained. I assumed you'd be with your boyfriend, I remarked. She looked down, embarrassed. I wanted to see you first, she admitted. Besides, Natalie's with him, and he's still recovering. I nodded, and the kids gathered around me. Sophie's eyes were watery. Are you going to be okay, Daddy? She asked. I'll be all right, sweetheart, I reassured her. I heard you really gave it to Grant last night, Aaron said with a grin. That's the word on the street, I said, looking at George, but it's not something to boast about, you hear me? Got it, Dad, Aaron replied. Are you going to be okay, John? Linda inquired. He'll be fine, Sophie assured her mother. We'll take care of him, won't we, Aaron? Yeah, we got this, my son affirmed. Linda glanced at our teenage children before speaking. If you guys don't mind, I'd like to have a private chat with your father for a few minutes, she requested. They hesitated before agreeing. Sure, Sophie said, but we'll be just outside the door. Come on, Aaron, she added, reaching for her brother. They exited, followed by George and Rhonda. John, Linda began after they left, I can't express how sorry I am about everything. Well, as I told Natalie last Saturday, sorry doesn't even scratch the surface, I stated. You deceived and betrayed me for what, 12 years? And you think sorry is enough to make it all better? Was I that inadequate as a husband to you? All I ever did was love and support you. I don't understand. You are the best husband and father anyone could wish for, she replied sadly. But even that wasn't sufficient for you, was it? I questioned. It's not like that, she defended. Really, that's what it seems like to me, I countered. You don't comprehend, she insisted. Then help me understand, I urged. At first, it was merely a means to secure my job, she confessed. Grant indicated that having lovemaking with me was a condition for obtaining the position. That's exploitation, I pointed out. That's illegal. Why didn't you come to me first? We could have taken action. Oh, I see, you were desperate for that job, so much so that you thought sleeping with Grant was a small price to pay, even if it tore apart our family. I essentially made a pact with the devil, she admitted. So now you're shifting blame to the devil? I scoffed. Give me a break. The truth is, you wanted that job so badly that you were willing to sleep with him for it, even if it cost you everything. What happened to it's just business? Tell me, Linda, where does the destruction of our family fit into your profit and loss statement, huh? I'd like to know why you continued even after supposedly retiring. That was my fault, she admitted. I suppose I reached a point where I believed I could have the best of both worlds. You developed feelings for him, didn't you? That's why you persisted. How long did you plan to continue indefinitely? Did you truly believe I'd never discover the truth, or did you expect me to simply acquiesce once I did? And remember, I'm aware of far more than you realize, I countered. Yes, I grew attached to him, she confessed. It became difficult not to after all those years. I assumed your love for me would allow me this indulgence. I tried my best to keep it from detracting anything from our relationship. Are you serious? I questioned incredulously. Every moment you spent with him detracted from us. Surely you grasped the concept of opportunity cost, the forfeit of potential benefit from other options when one is chosen. You chose him over your family. Consequently, you forfeited your family. But I still love you, she insisted. My love for you never waned. But you lost respect for me, I pointed out. She appeared shocked. No, that's not true, she denied. Yes, you did, I asserted. That's why you promised him you'd continue sleeping with him indefinitely and discussed threatening to accuse me of maltreatment in a divorce. Her eyes widened. You heard that? She gasped. Yes, and more, I confirmed. For instance, you told Grant you'd prefer spending time with him over our daughter on her birthday. What kind of mother does that? What message do you think that sends to an impressionable teenager? Did you consider her feelings, or Aaron's, when you missed his birthday last year? She flinched at that. I suppose I failed as a wife and mother, she murmured. Your words, not mine, but if they resonate with you, I said, shrugging. By the way, I can assure your lover he won't be pursued for child support. Yes, I had DNA tests conducted, and the children are mine. She looked at me, stunned. Oh my God, you thought I'd do that to you? She exclaimed. Well, you deceived me for 12 years, I reminded her. You schemed and misled me all that time, concealing your affair. What would you expect? You might also find comfort in knowing I haven't contracted anything from either of you. You may not be aware, but Grant enjoys playing the field. You're not his only conquest. I suspected, but I wasn't certain. What should I do now? She inquired. Sign the divorce papers, Linda. Put an end to this charade of a marriage. Then seek help and get your life in order, for the children's sake, I advised. I suspect. You'll have ample time. I imagine Grant will be detained by the state for some time. You're probably right, she conceded. Okay, I'll sign the papers. I'm sorry, John, for everything. You've said that, I reminded her. I suppose I have, haven't I? Well, thank you for allowing me time with the kids this weekend, she acknowledged. You're welcome, I replied. I know you don't believe me, but I truly love you, she insisted, and I wish you could find it in your heart for us to reconcile. You're correct. I don't believe you, but I appreciate you saying so, I admitted. I suppose a small part of me will always care for you too, but it's insufficient. I need to be able to trust my partner, and after what you've done, I don't know if I'll ever trust anyone again. She nodded as tears streamed down her face. I get it, she murmured. Goodbye, John. She leaned in and planted a kiss on my cheek. Goodbye, Linda, I responded. She turned and exited the room, tears streaming down her face. George, Rhonda, and the kids entered after her departure. Everything okay, son? George inquired. Yeah, I assured him. We had a talk. I think she finally realizes the extent of her mistakes. Does that mean you and Mom are reconciling? Sophie asked. I shook my head. No, sweetheart, I clarified. But you both love each other, she reasoned. Love alone isn't always enough to sustain a marriage, Sophie, I explained. Trust is equally important, and right now I don't trust her. You'll understand this someday. The doctor conducted one final check and discharged me. George drove me home with the kids. Later that night, I received a frantic call from George and Rhonda. Natalie informed them that Linda had attempted self-destruction by overdosing on sleeping pills and hard drinks. Natalie discovered her unconscious at Grant's residence while retrieving some of his belongings. A note on Linda's nightstand simply read, I'm sorry. Though she nearly succumbed to the overdose, Linda survived and spent a couple of days in the hospital. Following evaluation by mental health professionals, she was released into George and Rhonda's care, eventually relocating back in with them. Linda signed the divorce papers without contesting. Lisa informed me that I'd be legally single in 90 days. Free, yeah, right. Grant and Natalie's attorney swiftly settled with us for half of my initial claim. Consequently, I received approximately $3.5 million after legal fees. I allocated $1 million for each child's college fund and saved the remainder. I began planning a Mediterranean cruise for the kids during their next summer vacation. Grant received a 10-year prison sentence for aggravated assault, battery, and attempted homicide based on video evidence from the attack. He'd be eligible for parole in about 8.5 years. I saw Linda during visits to George and Rhonda's home. Sometimes we'd chat briefly, but I couldn't overlook her actions. She sought counseling to understand her motives, clinging to the hope of reconciliation. I was pleased she sought help, but it felt like closing the stable door after the horse had bolted. Over time, she rebuilt a relationship with the kids, which I welcomed. George mentioned she focused on writing for business blogs and refrained from dating. She expressed sadness upon learning of the cruise without her, but managed to cope, wishing us well. The kids frequently sent her text updates with photos from our travels. I met a charming woman, Nikki, from British Columbia, also on a post-divorce cruise. She was slightly younger than Linda, had shoulder-length blonde hair, and a bubbly demeanor. I enjoyed her habit of ending sentences with, She had 2 children, spending the summer with grandparents in Idaho, similar in age to mine. We shared stories about our pasts and occasionally shared a bed. Sophie teased me, singing, Daddy's got a girlfriend, while nudging me. We exchanged contact details at the cruise's end, promising to keep in touch via email and Skype. Though uncertain of what the future held, we spoke online at least twice weekly. We adjusted to life without Linda. My employer accommodated my schedule for school runs. I knew Aaron would eventually take over driving duties once he was old enough. Shortly after our return, George visited with some unfortunate news. They're planning to admit Linda to a mental hospital, he informed me. Oh, why? I inquired. Sophie sent her a photo of you three having dinner with that Canadian woman you met on your cruise, he explained. I don't think Sophie meant any damage, but Linda didn't react well. She had a breakdown. Rhonda and I discovered her in the bathtub. She had cut her wrists. Oh my God, I gasped. I'm sorry to hear that. I genuinely felt regretful upon learning about her self-destruction attempt, yet part of me felt a sense of validation. Now she understood a fraction of the pain I experienced when I first discovered her affair with Grant. Yeah, me too. Thankfully, she botched it and survived, but given her history, the doctors concluded she requires constant care and supervision, George shared. Rhonda and I are getting too old to watch over her around the clock, thus they decided to institutionalize her. For how long? I inquired. It's uncertain, son, he responded. It could be a few years, it could be indefinite. I just don't know. Keep me updated if there's anything we can do, I offered. Thank you, son, I appreciate it, he replied. Nikki and I sustained our long-distance relationship, and I found that our frequent conversations deepened our connection. I also caught myself daydreaming about her a lot. She expressed sorrow upon hearing about Linda, primarily for George, Rhonda, and the children, but she echoed my sentiments. During our last conversation, she suggested visiting us with her kids or proposed I bring my children to her home, a 2-story log house situated on 50 wooded acres north of Kamloops, built in the late 1800s. She mentioned having never ventured north of the U.S. border. I found the idea intriguing. Who knows what, if anything, will transpire. In any case, that's a tale for another time.